The mystery of a woman's confidence. Have you ever noticed how some women, without even speaking a word, seem to command attention the moment they walk into a room? It's not because they're the most beautiful, the most outgoing, or even the most socially skilled. There's something else, something deeper. What you're sensing is not appearance, status, or charm. It's confidence. Not the flashy, performative confidence that comes from rehearsed smiles or loud voices, but a quiet, magnetic aura rooted in an awakened inner self. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, described this as the journey back to the authentic self, the primal self untainted by society's expectations, masks, and wounds. For men, understanding this kind of confidence is crucial, because the truth is, a woman's presence, whether grounded or wounded, directly impacts how you experience her. And if you want to build real connections with women, you must learn to recognize the difference. Why confidence is more than looks. Most men are taught to pursue surface-level signs, looks, status, popularity. But surface fades. The most magnetic women in history, icons of mystery, strength, and grace, were not remembered only for their beauty, but for their presence. Presence is the energy she radiates. It's whether she feels at home in herself. It's whether she trusts herself. When a woman embodies this inner confidence, you don't just notice her, you feel her. Jung's insight, the crisis of identity. Jung once said modern humanity doesn't suffer most from a crisis of religion or morality, but from a crisis of identity. In other words, we've lost connection with the self. This is especially true for women in a world filled with pressures: be thinner, be prettier, be stronger, be perfect. Many live with an inner split, the mask. They show society and the hidden self they've abandoned. And here's the secret: when a woman loses her inner self, she also loses the trust she has in herself. That's when anxiety, self-doubt, and insecurity creep in. As a man, you'll sense it. She may look strong on the outside, but something about her energy feels shaky. Self-trust, the hidden foundation of confidence. Real confidence starts with one hidden ingredient: self-trust. Ask yourself this: does she trust herself when nobody's watching? Not when she's dressed up for Instagram. Not when she's performing at work or school, but in the quiet moments. A truly confident woman keeps her promises to herself. She honors her intuition. She doesn't abandon herself to please others. On the other hand, a woman who breaks her own word, who ignores her emotions, who numbs her instincts, who silences her inner voice, may appear confident, but deep down she doubts herself. This distinction is massive for men to understand, because if you're drawn only to the surface, you risk building connections with women who haven't yet built a connection with themselves. The lighthouse metaphor. Imagine a lighthouse on a stormy sea. If its light comes from an inner source, it shines no matter the waves. But if the light depends on an external generator, praise, validation, approval, then when the storm comes, the light goes out. A woman without self-trust lives like that fragile lighthouse. She shines only when others power her. But the woman who trusts herself, she shines regardless. That's the woman whose presence is unforgettable. How this affects men. Here's where it gets personal for you as a man. When you interact with a woman who doesn't trust herself, you'll often feel the instability. She hesitates, she overthinks, she doubts your intentions, and she projects her insecurity onto you. When you interact with a woman who does trust herself, the dynamic changes. She doesn't need you to validate her. She chooses you, but she doesn't cling. She stands strong, which allows you to stand stronger. And ironically, it's this very independence that makes her so attractive. The trap of external validation. Why do so many women, and men, fall into the trap of external validation? Jung would say it's because we wear the persona, the social mask. From childhood, society tells us how to act, how to speak, how to look. Over time, we forget the authentic self and start living only for the mask. For women, this often means performing roles. The perfect daughter, the beautiful girlfriend, the high-value woman. But here's the paradox: the more she lives for the mask, the further she drifts from her own intuition. And the further she drifts, the less magnetic she becomes. What men need to look for. So, how do you tell the difference between a woman who's grounded in self-trust and one who's still living from the mask? Watch for these signs. A self-trusting woman. She doesn't rush to answer every text. She says no when she needs to. She doesn't apologize for her emotions. She keeps small promises to herself. A mask-living woman. She needs constant reassurance. She changes her opinion depending on who she's with. She ignores her own boundaries to keep the peace. The first will challenge you, inspire you, and hold you accountable. The second may keep you entertained, but the relationship will feel unstable. Why this matters to you? Men often ask, how do I attract the right kind of woman? The answer isn't in flashy lines or tricks, it's in discernment. When you can recognize the difference between a woman in her authentic confidence and a woman in her mask, you stop wasting time on superficial connections. Instead, you focus your energy on women who elevate you, who inspire growth, and who make love feel like expansion, not drama. Conclusion on the mystery of a woman's confidence. The secret of a woman's magnetism isn't in her looks, her charm, or her social status. It's in her inner state of self-trust. As Jung would put it, it's the woman who dares to face both her light and her shadow, and still says, "This is me." And when you, as a man, learn to see this difference, you stop chasing illusions. You start recognizing substance. And that is the first step to building a love that actually lasts. The hidden psychology of feminine confidence. If you've ever met a woman who instantly draws attention without saying a word, you know there's something different about her presence. It's not about looks, fashion, or status, it's about something much deeper. That something is a type of inner alignment. Carl Jung would describe as living in harmony with the self, rather than the mask society forces upon us. As men, we often misinterpret this aura. We think it's charm, seduction, or even manipulation. But in truth, it's none of those. What you're seeing is a woman who trusts herself completely. She has built what we call self-trust, or in Jungian terms, a reconciled relationship between ego and unconscious. Now, why is this important for men to understand? Because the way you interpret her, confidence, and how you respond to it, determines the quality of connection you can build with her. Why many men misread confident women. Let's be honest, many men are intimidated by women with true confidence. Society often teaches men to pursue validation, control, or conquest in relationships. So when a man encounters a woman who is self-sufficient, who doesn't need him to define her worth, it can trigger insecurity. But here's the truth. A confident woman isn't rejecting your presence. She's simply showing you that she already has her own. She doesn't need you to give her identity. She's inviting you to meet her in authenticity. This is where Jung's concept of projection comes in. Often, what men see in women is a reflection of their own inner conflicts. If you feel uneasy around a self-assured woman, it may not be because of her, it may be because she mirrors the parts of yourself you haven't fully embraced. So the first step for men is awareness. When you feel intimidated, ask yourself, am I reacting to her or to my own shadow? The social mask versus the true self. In Jungian psychology, most of us live through the persona, the social mask. It's the identity we create to fit in, to be liked, to avoid rejection. Women do this too. What Instagram culture calls high value can often just be a mask. But the magnetic woman who exudes confidence, she has walked the long, painful path of dropping the mask. She has confronted her wounds, her fears, her insecurities. She has embraced her shadow instead of hiding it. That's why her energy feels so solid. You're meeting her true self, not her performance. For men, understanding this is crucial. When you pursue a woman only for the mask she wears, the connection will eventually crumble. But when you see through her to the deeper self and meet her with your own authenticity, you create a bond that can't be broken. The role of self-trust. Here's a simple truth. A woman cannot radiate goddess-like energy unless she trusts herself. Self-trust is the foundation of her confidence, and it shows up in subtle ways. As she makes decisions without doubting every move, as she sets boundaries without guilt, as she honors her emotions instead of burying them, as she keeps promises to herself, even when no one is watching. As a man, if you want to connect with her, you must respect this. Do not test her boundaries to see how far you can go. Do not mistake her stillness for weakness. Do not compete with her independence. Instead, stand steady in your own self-trust. Because when two people who trust themselves meet, the relationship becomes something far greater than dependency. It becomes partnership. The woman in goddess energy versus the woman in wound energy. This distinction is one of the most valuable insights men can learn from Jungian psychology. A woman in goddess energy has faced her wounds. She has embraced both her light and her shadow. She doesn't perform for approval. She radiates presence, safety, and inner power. Being with her feels calm, grounding, magnetic. A woman in wound energy, on the other hand, may look confident on the surface. She may be beautiful, successful, admired, but inside, she is guided by unhealed wounds. She seeks external validation, fears abandonment, and reacts strongly to rejection. Being with her often feels like walking on eggshells. As men, we often confuse the two. The performing woman in wound energy may seem exciting at first, but the relationship usually becomes chaotic. The woman in goddess energy may appear calm or even mysterious, but she offers depth, stability, and authenticity. The question is, do you recognize the difference? And more importantly, are you prepared to meet the woman in goddess energy with your own grounded masculinity? A practical exercise for men. Here's something simple yet powerful you can try. Next time you meet a woman, pause and observe your body. Do you feel tense, restless, like you need to impress her? Or do you feel calm, present, even without words? If she triggers anxiety, it may mean you're engaging with her mask or reacting to your own. If you feel grounded, you may be meeting her true self. This exercise isn't about judging women. It's about noticing your own reactions. Because the truth is, the way you feel around her reveals more about you than about her. Midway reminder. If you're finding these insights valuable, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Secrets of Her Heart, and hit the notification bell. Every week, we dive deeper into the hidden psychology of women, relationships, and authentic confidence. Don't just watch, be part of this journey. Why men need to learn this now. We live in a time where appearances dominate. Social media is filled with images of perfection. Yet behind those images, countless women are drowning in self-doubt, and countless men are misreading them. If you want to stand apart as a man, not just another surface-level shooter, you must learn to see beyond appearances. You must learn to recognize authenticity. Because the truth is, women can feel when a man sees them for who they really are. And that, more than looks or status, is what creates lasting attraction. Closing thought on the hidden psychology of feminine confidence. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." For men, this means, until you learn to see beyond the mask, you will keep repeating the same patterns with women, confusing surface confidence with true confidence, chasing validation instead of authenticity, and wondering why relationships crumble. But once you learn to see the difference, everything changes. Next, we'll go deeper into how women build true confidence, and what that process looks like from a Jungian perspective. More importantly, you'll learn how to support that journey and how to begin your own. The awakening. How true confidence is born within a woman. If there's one mystery most men struggle to understand, it's how a woman becomes truly confident, not the polished confidence that comes from appearance or success, but the deep, grounded kind that radiates from within. To understand her, we must go beneath the surface to the quiet, unseen journey she undertakes in her mind, body, and soul. Because no woman simply has confidence. She earns it, painfully, courageously, and often alone. The inner descent, where true confidence begins. Carl Jung described a process called individuation, the integration of the conscious and unconscious mind. It's not a self-help concept. It's a spiritual transformation. For a woman, this journey often begins when the mask of perfection cracks, when the applause fades, when love disappoints, or when she realizes she's been living for others and not for herself. That breaking point, though painful, is the start of awakening. It's where she begins to descend inward, facing her shadows, insecurities, and suppressed emotions. It's a descent into chaos, but it's where the authentic self begins to emerge. Men often see this as her being emotional or complicated. But what's really happening is something sacred. She's meeting herself. When a woman begins to face her shadow, she starts to reclaim the energy she once gave away to validation, fear, and control. It's through this inner confrontation that she begins to develop self-trust, the foundation of true confidence. The mask falls. Why many women feel lost. The truth is, modern society has created countless expectations for women. Be beautiful, but not vain. Be strong, but not intimidating. Be kind, but not weak. Be ambitious, but not too much. The result? A silent war inside her. Jung called this living through the persona, the social mask designed to please and perform. For years, many women wear it without realizing. They smile when they want to scream. They say, "I'm fine," when their heart is aching. They play roles: the good girl, the nurturer, the achiever, just to be accepted. But when that mask becomes too heavy, the soul rebels. She starts questioning, who am I when no one is watching? That question marks the beginning of her rebirth. And this is where men often misunderstand her. When she pulls away to find herself, when she becomes quieter, when she sets new boundaries, she's not rejecting love. She's redefining herself. She's saying, I can no longer live as someone else's reflection. The rebuilding, small acts of self-trust. Jung said, you are what you do, not what you say you'll do. For women, true confidence grows not from theory but from small, consistent acts of self-honor. Each time she keeps her word to herself, whether it's waking up early, saying no to toxic energy, or allowing herself to rest, she rebuilds inner trust. It's like laying bricks to construct a home inside her soul. Every fulfilled promise is a brick of strength. Every honest decision is a window of clarity. Every boundary kept is a door locked to chaos. When men witness a woman in this rebuilding phase, they must understand something crucial. She doesn't need to be fixed, rescued, or rushed. She needs to be seen. Because in that stage, she's learning to believe her own voice again. The one drowned out for years by expectations and noise. The bridge between the ego and the soul. Jung believed the ego's role is not to dominate the soul, but to serve it. A confident woman is one who has aligned these two forces. She no longer hides her emotions out of fear. She can feel sadness without shame, express anger without guilt, and love without losing herself. She becomes integrated. For men, this kind of woman can feel both disarming and inspiring. She doesn't play games. She's direct, yet soft. She's passionate, yet calm. Her presence challenges you to rise not by force, but by example. And here's the secret. She will only connect deeply with a man who is also integrating his inner world. A man who faces his own shadows instead of projecting them onto her. Because true attraction isn't two halves completing each other, it's two wholes meeting in truth. Why many men fail to recognize true confidence. Here's a paradox most men miss. The most confident women are often the quietest. They don't need to prove anything. They don't flaunt, chase, or seek approval. Their energy is subtle, grounded, magnetic. You feel it, but you can't quite explain it. And because it's not loud or performative, many men overlook it, drawn instead to the flash of performative confidence, mistaking drama for passion and chaos for chemistry. But a wise man learns to sense depth, not noise. He realizes that a truly confident woman will test him not by playing games, but by observing if he, too, lives from authenticity. She'll notice how you handle silence, how you respond when she sets a boundary, whether you listen to understand or just to reply. If your confidence is real, she'll feel it. If it's fragile or performative, she'll see through it instantly. Confidence as spiritual energy. From a Jungian perspective, confidence is not behavior, it's energy. It's the alignment between thought, emotion, and action. A woman who has achieved this balance radiates what can only be called goddess energy. She's not divine in a mythological sense, but in her presence, you feel something sacred, a calm assurance, a quiet strength. Men who understand this will stop chasing beauty and start pursuing presence. Because beauty fades, but presence transforms everyone who touches it. How men can support the awakening. If you're a man who desires to build deeper connections with women, understand this. Your role is not to lead her awakening, it's to honor it. When she's uncertain, offer steadiness, not control. When she's emotional, offer presence, not solutions. When she's silent, offer patience, not pressure. Because she's not testing your dominance, she's feeling for your authenticity. The greatest men are not those who dominate women, but those who create space where women feel safe to become their truest selves. And when she feels that safety, her energy blossoms. Her confidence grows. Her heart opens and she meets you from her deepest truth. That is when real intimacy begins. Midway reminder. If this message is resonating with you, pause for a moment. Hit like, subscribe to Secrets of Her Heart, and turn on the bell so you never miss our next deep exploration. We are just getting started. The next part will reveal how the masculine and feminine energies interact, and how understanding this polarity transforms not only your relationships but your own sense of purpose as a man. Closing thought on the awakening. How true confidence is born within a woman. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." For a woman, this means reclaiming her confidence from the depths of her being. For a man, it means learning to see her not as a puzzle to solve, but as a mirror, one reflecting his own journey toward authenticity. In the next chapter, we'll explore this dance between masculine presence and feminine power, the sacred polarity that fuels attraction, growth, and emotional mastery. The sacred polarity, how masculine presence awakens feminine power. Every relationship that feels alive, magnetic, and soulful is powered by one invisible force, polarity. It's the dance between masculine and feminine. Energy, the eternal pull that creates attraction, passion, and balance. But in our modern world, this dance has been forgotten. The lines have blurred. Masculinity has been shamed, femininity misunderstood. Many men have lost their presence, and many women have lost their softness not by choice, but by survival. To restore love, we must restore polarity. Masculine presence, the stillness that grounds the storm. At its core, the masculine represents presence, the energy of stability, focus, and direction. It's not about dominance, aggression, or control. True masculinity is silent strength, the mountain that doesn't move when the wind howls. When a woman feels a man's grounded presence, her nervous system relaxes. Her heart softens. Her feminine energy begins to flow freely, like a river finally returning to its course. But presence isn't built through words. It's cultivated through awareness. A present man doesn't just hear her, he feels her. He notices the emotions beneath her words, the shifts in her tone, the tension in her body. He listens not with his ears, but with his whole being. This presence tells her, "You are safe to feel. You don't need to hide. I'm here." And in that safety, she unfolds. Her laughter deepens, her eyes soften, her energy becomes radiant. That is the power of the masculine. Not to control the feminine, but to hold space where she can return to her natural state. Feminine power, the movement that awakens the stillness. If the masculine is the mountain, the feminine is the wind that dances around it. She brings life, color, emotion, and movement. Jung described the feminine as eros, the principle of connection, emotion, and unity. She's not linear, not logical in the traditional sense. She flows, she feels, she transforms. When she is in her power, she awakens the world around her. Her energy inspires art, creation, devotion, and passion. But when her energy is suppressed by judgment, fear, or trauma, she becomes disconnected from her essence. This is where polarity dies. Because when the feminine closes, the masculine has nothing to anchor into. But here's the secret. She reopens when she feels presence, not pressure. When a man is deeply grounded in who he is, she can finally release control. She doesn't have to lead, fix, or protect herself. She can return to her flow, her softness, her natural radiance. That's not weakness, it's power restored. The wounded dance, when polarity turns into power struggle. Many modern relationships collapse because they operate in reversed or wounded polarity. The man becomes passive, uncertain, emotionally unavailable. The woman steps into control, over-functioning, protecting herself from instability. At first, this dynamic may work, but over time, it breeds resentment. She feels unseen. He feels inadequate. This is not because they don't love each other, it's because they're dancing in wounded energy. The masculine has forgotten presence. The feminine has forgotten trust. Jung would say they are each living in disconnection from their inner archetypes: the king and the queen, the warrior and the lover, the magician and the empress. When either side represses its natural essence, the relationship becomes mechanical, void of passion, depth, and flow. To restore harmony, each must heal their own polarity. How men reclaim masculine presence. For a man, reclaiming his masculine essence isn't about becoming alpha. It's about becoming anchored. Here's how he begins that journey. 1. Silence. Learn to be still without seeking distraction. Presence is born in stillness. 2. Purpose. Have direction. A man without purpose drifts, and a drifting man cannot lead energy. 3. Integrity. Say what you mean what you say. Nothing awakens trust faster. 4. Awareness. Observe before reacting. The feminine doesn't need fixing, she needs witnessing. 5. Energy discipline. Protect your focus. Stop scattering energy across endless validation or chaos. When a man does these things, his energy changes. He no longer chases validation, he attracts connection. A woman will feel that shift instantly. Because feminine energy is intuitive, it senses safety before logic confirms it. How women reclaim feminine power. For a woman, awakening her feminine energy means returning to her body, her emotions, and her softness without shame. This doesn't mean submission or dependence. It means trusting the flow of her own heart. She heals by 1. Feeling deeply instead of suppressing. 2. Receiving support without guilt. 3. Resting without apology. 4. Expressing emotion as a form of truth, not manipulation. 5. Letting go of control and returning to intuition. When she embodies this energy, she becomes magnetic not because of how she looks, but because of how she feels. And the moment a grounded man meets this energy, something sacred awakens. When masculine and feminine unite, imagine a relationship where the man is grounded like a mountain, and the woman flows like a river. He anchors her. She enlivens him. His presence gives direction. Her energy gives meaning. This is polarity in its purest form, where both energies are honored, not competed. In this union, the man doesn't lose himself in emotion, nor does he avoid it. The woman doesn't suppress her softness, nor does she weaponize it. Together, they rise. This is the relationship Jung might call the sacred marriage, the union of opposites within and without. How to build polarity in real life. Here are a few simple ways men can cultivate polarity in relationships. 1. Lead with clarity. Don't wait for her to decide everything. Offer direction with empathy. 2. Be emotionally present. When she's expressing feelings, don't interrupt, listen and breathe. 3. Hold your frame. Don't crumble when she tests you emotionally. She's not attacking you, she's feeling for your strength. 4. Express desire clearly. The feminine blossoms under honesty and admiration. 5. Stay grounded. When she spirals, your calm brings her back to balance, not control, but stability. Do this not to manipulate, but to create safety for her and for yourself. Midway reminder. If this message resonates with your heart, don't just watch, join the movement. Subscribe to Secrets of a Heart for more deep explorations on love, energy, and the psychology of attraction. Your growth as a man starts here. Closing thought on the sacred polarity. How masculine presence awakens feminine power. Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." This is polarity, the sacred chemistry between masculine presence and feminine power. When both are conscious, love becomes alchemy. Next, we'll go deeper into emotional mastery. How men can navigate feminine emotions without losing their grounding, and how doing so deepens love, trust, and attraction beyond anything surface level. Emotional mastery. How to stay grounded when she's emotional. Every man who has ever loved a woman deeply knows this moment, when her emotions rise like a wave you didn't see coming. One moment, everything feels calm. The next, the air is charged with emotion, words, tears, energy. And in that moment, most men panic. They freeze, shut down, argue, or walk away. Not because they don't care, but because they were never taught how to stand strong in the storm of feminine emotion. But here's the truth. If you can learn to stay grounded in her waves without trying to control, fix, or flee, you unlock one of the greatest secrets of her heart, the nature of feminine emotion. To understand women emotionally, you must first understand that emotion for the feminine is not chaos, it's communication. Where the masculine processes life through logic, the feminine processes through feeling. Her emotions aren't random. They are feedback from her inner world, signals of safety, love, and connection. When she expresses emotion, she's not always looking for solutions. She's looking for resonance. She wants to feel that you feel her. It's not about agreeing with her words, it's about aligning with her energy. When you can stay present while she's emotional, she experiences something rare: emotional safety. That safety is what allows her to relax back into her feminine essence. Why men lose ground. Most men grow up in a world that rewards logic and punishes vulnerability. So when confronted with raw emotion, the masculine instinct is to escape, to rationalize, defend, or detach. But this reaction sends her the opposite message of what she needs. She feels unseen, unheard, and unsafe. When that happens repeatedly, the emotional bridge between you begins to crumble. This doesn't mean you have to absorb her emotions. It means learning how to witness them without drowning in them. Because feminine emotion is like the ocean, it can't be stopped. It can only be navigated with presence and patience. Presence versus reaction. When she's upset, your nervous system will want to react. You'll feel tension, adrenaline, the urge to fix things or walk away. Pause. Breathe. Feel your feet on the ground. Remember, her storm is not your enemy. It's her energy moving through emotion. Instead of saying, "Calm down," try grounding her with presence. Say, "I'm here. It's okay to feel this. I want to understand." Then listen. Not to respond, but to understand. Your calm doesn't suppress her emotion, it gives it a container. The feminine test. Every emotionally intelligent man must understand this truth. The feminine will test you not consciously, but energetically. She doesn't test to hurt you. She tests to feel you. She wants to know, can you stay steady when she's emotional? Can you hold your frame without collapsing or withdrawing? Or are you a man she can emotionally trust? Because for the feminine, safety is not about protection from the world, it's about safety within you. If you crumble when she's emotional, she loses that trust. If you stay calm, she softens. The art of holding space. Holding space is one of the most powerful skills a man can develop. It means staying emotionally present without needing to control the outcome. Here's how to practice it. 1. Stay grounded in your body. When emotions rise, focus on your breath. Drop your awareness from your head to your chest. 2. Listen with empathy, not logic. Most of the time, she doesn't need you to fix it, she needs you to feel it with her. 3. Don't mirror her chaos. If she's emotional and you react emotionally, the polarity collapses. Your job isn't to suppress her emotions, it's to anchor them. 4. Stay connected through touch, if welcome. Sometimes a gentle hand on her shoulder, or simply sitting close in silence, says more than words ever could. 5. After the wave passes, reflect gently. Once she feels seen and safe, that's when you can talk calmly about boundaries or solutions. Never. During the storm. Emotional maturity and masculine power. Jung once said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people." In relationships, this means emotional mastery begins with self-awareness. When you've faced your own anger, pain, and fear, you no longer get triggered by hers. You stop seeing her emotion as a threat and start seeing it as truth. That is masculine strength at its highest form, not dominance, but containment. The ability to stay loving and steady in the presence of intensity. That steadiness awakens trust, and trust awakens love. When you meet her in emotion, imagine this. She's crying, frustrated, expressing what feels to you like chaos. Instead of defending yourself, you breathe. You stay still. You look into her eyes and say, "I hear you. I'm not going anywhere." Watch what happens next. In that moment, her heart shifts from fight to safety. Her guard lowers. Her emotions settle not because you silence them, but because you held them. That's the kind of moment that bonds a woman's heart to a man's soul. Because she feels what most men never make her feel safe in her emotion. How this changes everything. When you master emotional presence, you stop living in reaction. You stop being pulled into cycles of argument, withdrawal, or blame. Instead, you become an anchor. And in relationships, the anchor is magnetic. The feminine will naturally lean toward what feels stable. When you can remain grounded through her waves, she trusts you more deeply than words could ever express. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect or lose your boundaries. It means you communicate those boundaries calmly, without reactivity. That balance between strength and softness is what makes love last. Practical grounding techniques for men. 1. Box breathing. Inhale 4 seconds. Hold 4, exhale 4, hold 4. Repeat. 2. Body awareness. Drop your focus to your chest and stomach. Feel your weight on the ground. 3. Eye contact. Hold soft eye contact without trying to fix anything. Presence communicates more than words. 4. Anchor phrase. Repeat internally, I am steady. I am here. 5. No judgment zone. Remind yourself. Her emotions are not personal attacks, they are energy moving through love. Practice these, and emotional storms will no longer shake you, they'll deepen you. Midway reminder. If you're finding these insights powerful, subscribe now to Secrets of Her Heart. Here, we help men decode the feminine heart, master emotional intelligence, and create unbreakable connections. Hit the air and join a brotherhood of men who lead with strength and empathy. Closing thought on emotional mastery. How to stay grounded when she's emotional. Jung taught that what we resist persists, but what we face transforms. When a man learns to face the storm of feminine emotion with love instead of fear, something profound happens. The storm doesn't destroy him, it purifies him. Because through her emotion, she's not trying to test your logic. She's trying to awaken your presence. And once you learn to meet her therewith, grounded strength and open heart, you'll no longer fear her emotions. You'll see them for what they are. The pure language of her soul. The language of trust. How to speak to her heart so she feels understood. If there's one thing every woman craves but rarely finds, it's emotional understanding. A man who doesn't just hear her words but feels what she means beneath them. For men, this is where connection either deepens into unbreakable trust or fades into distance. Because to a woman, being understood is the highest form of love. It's not about agreeing with everything she says. It's not about solving every problem. It's about making her feel seen in her truth without judgment, without defensiveness, without fear. And that is the language of trust. Why words matter less than energy. Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." In relationships, that reaction is emotional energy. Every time you speak to a woman, your energy speaks louder than your words. She doesn't just listen to what you say, she feels how you say it. Your tone, your presence, your body language all communicate more than logic ever could. That's why a soft "I understand" from a grounded man can heal what 1,000 explanations never could. Because in that moment, she doesn't just hear love, she feels safe inside it. Why most men don't truly hear women. Many men listen to women like they're solving a problem. They analyze, diagnose, and jump to solutions. But the feminine doesn't want logic first, she wants empathy. When she says, "You never listen," what she often means is, "You hear my words, but you don't feel my emotions." Logic connects to the mind. Empathy connects to the heart. A woman opens to the man who can do both, understand her mind and mirror her emotion. That's when she starts to trust you with her deeper truth, the part she hides from the rest of the world. The feminine language of emotion. To communicate with a woman's heart, you must learn her emotional language. This doesn't mean decoding her every mood, it means understanding that emotion is her language. Here's what that looks like in practice. When she says, "You don't care about me anymore," what she often means is, "I feel disconnected from you." When she says, "You never make time for me," what she means is, "I miss our connection." When she says, "You don't understand me," what she means is, "I don't feel emotionally safe with you right now." When a man learns to translate her emotion instead of reacting to her words, arguments transform into intimacy. How to respond to her emotion. Here's a simple but powerful formula. 1. Pause before reacting. Don't defend yourself immediately. Take a breath. 2. Acknowledge her emotion first. Say something like, I hear that you're upset. That sounds painful. I can see how that hurt you. 3. Reflect understanding. You're saying you felt ignored when I didn't text back. I understand that made you feel unimportant. 4. Then offer logic or solution only after empathy. Once she feels understood, then she can hear reason. I didn't mean to ignore you, I was caught up with work. But I get how that made you feel. Notice the order. Empathy first, logic second. Always. The feminine test of communication. A woman will subconsciously test your communication not to create drama, but to feel your emotional depth. She'll say things that seem irrational not to confuse you, but to see if you can stay calm, present, and connected even when emotions rise. If you respond with defensiveness or irritation, she closes. If you respond with calm understanding, she opens. Every conversation with a woman is an opportunity to build or break trust. Trust isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in the small moments where she realizes, you don't just listen to me, you understand me. The power of validation. Validation doesn't mean agreement, it means acknowledgement. When you validate her feelings, you tell her, your emotions make sense. That single phrase can heal years of emotional neglect. Say things like, I get why that upset you. If anyone would feel that way in your situation. Your feelings matter to me. When you validate, her body relaxes. Her guard drops. That's when true connection begins. The masculine mistake, logic before love. Many men lose trust with women because they lead with logic. They want to fix what she feels instead of feeling it with her. But here's the paradox. When a woman feels emotionally understood, most of her logic-based complaints disappear on their own. Because she wasn't looking for solutions, she was searching for safety. When you can make her feel safe in her emotions, she stops fighting for your attention and starts flowing in her softness again. How to speak to her heart. Here's how to communicate like a man who understands women. 1. Be present. Put down your phone. Look her in the eyes. Energy doesn't lie. 2. Mirror her energy softly. If she's speaking emotionally, soften your tone. 3. Use I feel instead of you always. Replace blame with honesty. I feel distant lately, and I miss our closeness. 4. Stay calm during intensity. She's watching your energy. When you stay steady, she feels held. 5. End with reassurance. Always reaffirm love. We'll figure this out together. You matter to me. This is how trust grows, not in grand speeches, but in emotional consistency. Masculine presence in communication. The most magnetic men don't talk to impress, they speak to connect. Their voice is steady, their energy is calm, their words carry truth. When you speak from that place, your words become medicine. You don't just reach her ears, you reach her nervous system. And once a woman feels emotionally safe in your communication, her heart will open in ways words can't describe. Because she's no longer bracing for disappointment. She's surrendering to presence. Midway reminder. If you're connecting with this message, pause for a moment. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell to join the secrets of her heart community. Here, we go beyond surface dating advice into the psychology, energy, and emotional intelligence that builds lasting love. Closing thought on the language of trust. How to speak to her heart so she feels understood. Carl Jung believed that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. For a woman, that acceptance often begins when she feels understood by a man, not because he fixes her, but because he sees her. For a man, it begins when he learns to listen not just with his mind, but with his heart. Because when two people understand each other at that level, love stops being a mystery. It becomes a sacred mirror of growth, safety, and truth.